So these are things that people have said to me while I was going through all of this. And I just ask, like, please, just regardless of what your religious affiliation is, just read the room and just see if the person that you're talking to is like a religious person, right? Like, don't just start like spouting your religious rhetoric to people who are not necessarily believers. It's as easy as just asking a simple question. Hey man, do you believe? If they say yes, then you continue. If they say no, then you find something else that you can use, that you can say to them. Just think about the words you're using and who you're saying those words to. Some of the things that I've heard, like in my time during this, is God chose you for this path. Everything happens for a reason. All of this is a part of God's plan. Have you prayed? And this is a good one. God's testing you to see if you're strong enough. So again, I've said this before. Like, I'm not an anti-God person, but I'm not like a pro-God person either. And typically, I like to stay away from this topic because, like, that's just a whole can of worms, and I know like the kind of like stuff that can kick up with certain people, how triggering that can be. And in some instances, individuals that have said that to me genuinely believe that they're trying to help and they're trying to comfort me. They think that what they're saying is the right thing to say because of their own personal religious beliefs. And in all of those instances where people have said those things to me, it was always more detrimental than it helped because of the situation that I was in and how I felt at the time when those things were happening. Because what I understood, what they didn't, is the larger ramifications and the magnitude of what was happening to me overall. They would say stuff like that to me. They would ask if they could pray for me in the room. But then at the end of the day, right, like those individuals at the hospital, right, like they would clock out and they would go home. And they would go home to their families, they would go home to their lives, and they were feeling good and they were healthy, and they would go and they were ready to plan their vacation to Hawaii, and I'm still sitting in a hospital bed, you know, not knowing what's going to happen to me. And then as the recipient of those words, you start asking a lot of questions, questions that I would never get the answers to. And for me, the question always came back to the why. Well, if all of that stuff they're saying is true, then why? And as you're experiencing all of this pain and all of this suffering, you have some patients that become more devout, and then you have some patients that it really shakes them to their core of like, if this is to be true, then why? Why did any of this stuff had to happen to me? Not because like I'm so special, but because there are far worse people in this world that this could have affected. And yet I'm the one that got sick. Some regular dude that just was minding his own business one day. You start asking questions like, was I not a good enough person in my life? Did I not try hard enough? Was I not nice enough of a person? And I want to sort of stress this, that like this, what I'm saying here is not for like the super religious, like uber religious type of people, right? These are for like more of the people in the middle, that sort of um, are thinking on the same lines as me. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. I had a PA, or a physician's aide, who practiced for a long time, and she very much lost all her faith in any sort of higher power, because she told me that she had seen so many good people suffering and getting sick and dying that should not have gotten sick and died. Great people, that she felt like didn't deserve the fate that they got, that she had to diagnose them with. And eventually, because of that, she ended up getting out. She ended up getting out of the business and went more towards like the more of the clerical side rather than the clinical side. So not dealing with patients anymore. And I remember when I told her about my kidneys failing, I remember how sad she was. And she actually like gave me a hug, because I had been with her for years, and she saw me before I got sick, and then she saw like how drastically my life just changed overnight. And we end up getting into a discussion about that topic. How it came up, I can't remember. It might have been she asked me if I was like a believer or a religious person, and then it just went into like we just got into this long discussion about it.